live on my laptop today to Facebook. So let's see. Looks like the stream is going live. I'm also live on LinkedIn. So let's get started. Hi. Good afternoon. It is great to be back for a career talk. I couldn't do it last week because my husband, he had to work, and it was just Noe and myself, the two of us, just having fun, surviving a weekend without Dada. We survived, we had fun. And hi, so good to see you. Thank you so much for hopping on today, Dami. It is always good to see you. So, yes, I am back. I'm not on my usual morning time because hubby is working again this afternoon. So, I am doing career talk during nap time, which is precious time. For those who have littles, my name is Shanika Roberts. If you've never met me before, I am a stay at home mom, also a certified career coach, resume writer, and the CEO of Next Chapter Career Services, where we equip moms to secure job offers and gain their confidence while doing it. If you are watching this on replay, definitely let me know in the comments. Today's topic is going to be all about dealing with imposter syndrome. Okay, so I'm excited to hear some thoughts, some questions, whether you're listening live today or whether you're watching me on replay. So, as we get into this topic of, imposter syndrome as mamas, I'm going to be tackling two different points today. So, first, we're going to talk about what imposter syndrome actually is. And then, second, we're going to be talking about some practical ways that we can deal with it because I believe that none of us are immune to imposter syndrome. So, I'm going to start with a story before I get into my definition and all of that. And this was a story about a time when I lived back in the Midwest and I worked as a director of career services at a college. So I was all bright eyed and bushy tailed, and I was given a project. And the project was to plan a career fair for the entire campus. Granted, my heart like dropped to the floor when I got this project because up to this point, I had never planned an event before. Okay, up to this point, the only event I had planned for was my wedding. And when you're a broke college student, there's not a whole lot of planning when you're trying to just put together a beautiful, meaningful, but let's face it, bare bones wedding. Okay, so I was in charge of getting employers to come to the campus and getting booths set up and marketing the event to students and getting students to show up. And just the entire flow of this event from start to finish was up to me. Granted, at the time, I was a department of one. I did work and collaborate with other career services staff, but we were all at different campuses. So, really, it was really just me and my lovely administrative assistant at the time who were tasked to put together this career fair. Granted, we got it done. We met, we made a list of all the things we needed to do. We got employers to show up and we got the booth set up. We even got some goodie bags put together for the students and for the employers who participated. And let me just tell you, it was hard work. I was physically and mentally exhausted by this project. And you know what? It was a success. We got through it. I got great feedback from both the students and from the employers that it was a great event. But during this whole ordeal, I was dealing with imposter syndrome. First, I had never, done an event like this before, which is a valid concern. But, you just kind of second guess. I'll be honest, I second guessed every single thing I did, every single step I took. And by the time I had to plan my second career event, so I had to do a second career fair a few months later, even though I had the experience and the successes of the first, that imposter syndrome did rear its ugly head, and it was something I had to deal with as I planned and coordinated my second career fair. So, with that being said, if you have ever dealt with imposter syndrome before, let me know in the comments. If you're wondering what is imposter syndrome, I will go ahead and give you a definition. So, I did some research about imposter syndrome, and basically, what it is in a nutshell are thoughts and feelings that you are a fraud. Okay. So, this is in regards to your performance. And I think as mothers, we deal with this a lot, not just in motherhood, but also when it comes to our careers. So, with that definition in mind, if you've ever experienced imposter, all have. Oh, okay, hold on just a minute. Okay, it paused. It was like my internet was down, but it's back up. So I am back online. Perfect. So there are a lot of different thoughts that can come up with this whole imposter syndrome thing. And I'm going to read a couple examples to you. So let me know if anything sounds familiar. I must not fail. I feel like a fake. It's all down to luck. Success is no big deal. So there's this whole concept of minimizing your skills, minimizing your successes, and just thinking, he could do that or she could do that. But when it comes to us, for some reason, we tend to minimize ourselves. Imposter syndrome can rear its ugly head at any point of our career, whether we're going on a job interview, whether we are already working somewhere and we're given a new project, like plan a career fair or whatever that thing might be. Those thoughts can rear its ugly head. And I want to just encourage us today to acknowledge if that's something that you're going through, acknowledge that, yeah, this is something I'm going through, but also give you some practical things you can do to cope with imposter syndrome. Okay, so let's get to the coping side now. Okay, so if imposter syndrome has to do with our thinking surrounding our performance, our skills, then we need to get really specific here. So, the first way we can cope with imposter syndrome is to identify what those specific thoughts are. Small disclaimer, especially if you don't really know me. Before I was a career coach, I used to be a therapist and I used to practice CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. And a big part of that is figuring out what thoughts are triggering us, because it's not necessarily events in themselves that cause us to act or feel a certain way. It's the meaning we assign to those thoughts. And so with imposter syndrome, there's a trigger, right? There's an event, maybe a new project at work, or maybe a job interview, or maybe something in relation to motherhood, like being a first time mom and just going through all of your firsts. And even though you've conquered those two milestones 2 months ago, now you've got a new issue and you're just not sure if you're equipped to handle that issue. So we have to figure out what those specific thoughts are. And like I shared earlier in the live, I did give some examples such as I feel like a fake, this was just luck, those sort of things. Okay. So I want to ask a question. So if you're live, let me know in the comments, or if you're watching on replay and you're sticking with me and you've made it this far through the video, just let me know what type of triggers do you think brings on your imposter syndrome. Before we talk about thoughts, let's talk about triggers. Do you have an interview coming up? Is there a new project? Maybe you're a new hire and you killed it and you rocked it at the interview. And now you're like in the trenches and you're like, holy crap, why am I here? Am I going to survive the next 3 months? Hopefully you're not feeling that way, but a lot of people do. So let me know what your triggers are. So I shared about my career fair. So that would have been a trigger, right? Being given this project of the career fair. as a fairly new business owner, I feel like I have a lot of triggers. I feel like every day there's at least one trigger for imposter syndrome. One of them being, just being having more of a presence on social media. Those who know me, like who are my friends who know me like very, very well, they know that I tend to be very private. However, having a business, you do have to put yourself out there because you want people to know you, like you, and trust you. So I'll be honest, sometimes I have imposter syndrome when I'm putting myself out there, whether it's a live or video. Even though I have all this experience and training as a career expert, sometimes my mind goes somewhere. Like, what if there's some crazy person with a crazy question I can't answer, or something like that. So I deal with imposter syndrome every day, and it's just something that I have to check myself on. So let me know what your triggers are. All right. So once you identify what specific thoughts are coming to your mind, what narrative you're telling yourself when that trigger happens, the next thing you want to do is determine if there's any truth or validity to those thoughts. So, for example, let's say someone is an employee at work and they've been assigned a new client and they have to produce some work for this client and they're having all of these thoughts, the client's going to hate me, the client's going to hate every single thing I do, they're going to complain to my boss, they're going to give me a bad review on Google. Whatever that thought is, you have to figure out what evidence, what's out there that tells me that this thought is true, as well as what evidence is out there that tells me that this thought is not true. So ask yourself. And I find when you're doing these sort of reflective exercises, it's really helpful to write it down on paper. So you can write down what those thoughts are on paper first, and then write down what evidence you have that proves that this thought is true and valid, and I should feel this way about myself and about my. So, with my example about someone who, well, we have a bad review next month. So that's why I'm thinking that it'll probably happen again because our company got a bad review from a client last month. Well, someone might say that's evidence, but is it really evidence? Because that was in regards to another project and another client. So if that person was talking to me and I was coaching to them, I would tell them, probably not the most valid evidence because this is a new person, you haven't even met them. So make sure whatever evidence you have, it is valid and pertinent. Okay? So once you figured out what evidence you have to prove this thought, think about what evidence you have that proves that this is not valid. So then someone might be like, you know what, Shanika, you're right. This person has never met me before. So I have no way of being able to anticipate and predict how they're going to act. Another piece of evidence, they've been doing this job for 5 years and they're really good at their jobs and they know how to handle difficult clients. That's another, reason why this thought that they're having isn't true. And so you can also write those down on paper. And then the last piece of advice that I have for you after you look at the evidence is to compare it and make a judgment call based on what I've done and this evidence. Is this thought valid? Chances are your thought isn't valid. And so that's really what imposter syndrome is. It's an invalid evaluation of our performance and our skills as moms and as career women. And we shouldn't let it hold us back. So, just to recap, we talked about imposter syndrome. So, it is thoughts and feelings associated with our performance, our skills, that basically lean towards us feeling like we're some sort of fraud, that we're incapable, inferior in some way. And one of the best ways to cope with imposter syndrome is you know, write down on paper what those thoughts are, right? We think about our triggers and think about what specific thoughts get specific. I'm a failure. This client is going to hate me. Look at the evidence for and look at the evidence against, and then finally make a judgment call. Is this thought valid based on that evidence? So that is my tip for career talk. Um, I do want to just reiterate, you guys might have seen this on social media, but next Saturday, which is March the 12th at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time / 11 a.m. Eastern, I will be going live. I am doing a free workshop on this topic of imposter syndrome. It's actually called Avoid These Pitfalls to a Successful Career Launch. And it's one of my 4 workshops I'm going to be doing on Saturdays. This one is free for mamas who are members of my Work at Mama Facebook group. Instagram, if you go to my bio link, you will see the link to the group. You can join and be a part of that. It will be a Zoom. So once you're in there, I'm going to need your email address so that I can send you the Zoom link. There's going to be a little workbook. My goal for this is to really make this interactive so that you're getting the best. And then there are 3 other follow-up sessions. Those ones are paid. If you're in the Facebook group, it's only $89 for 3 amazing sessions, which are all about helping you as mamas who are job searching or who will be in the near future overcome employment gaps to get back to work and to be competitive and to be the best version of yourself professionally. And there is more information about those sessions in the group. So I hope to see you in the group. I hope that, if this is something that might not be for you, but a mom who could benefit from learning about imposter syndrome, time management, dealing with her resume if she has an employment gap, and all those things, you will direct her to my Facebook group. All right. Well, that's all I got. Thank you so much for listening to Career Talk today. And I will be back next week. I do these at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, but I am doing the class in the morning. So depending on what time that class gets done, I may have to switch the times around for Career Talk. So you guys will get a little post on when next Career Talk is happening. Oh, thank you, Dami. Thank you so much for listening. And girl, I hope you got something today that can help you just with your career. Ladies, just know that you guys are amazing, wonderful, talented, and imposter syndrome happens to all of us. But all we can do is check those thoughts and encourage each other and move forward. All right, take care, mamas. Bye. I'll see you around. Bye, Instagram. Bye, Demi. All right, I am ending Instagram, and I will see you guys later, Facebook and LinkedIn.